Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the hype. And I'm going to drop a fillable. Oh, I think we have it in. Oh, Jen, the best. Really quick, if you're feeling low energy, this is the last thing before the break. Take a deep breath. Probably don't have enough oxygen in your brain. Move a few muscles. Your physiology will change your energy, because I want you all to listen to this very closely. And we're going to talk about some strategies to sell around school and to crush everything you do. And in order to really have a conversation about what it takes to have success selling around the school year, I think it all starts with a mentality shift. It's, oh my gosh, we just heard that, right? So if you leave my talk with one idea, it would be this perspective. Students crush school because they sell Cutco, not in spite of it. In fact, you heard Kyle say this, right? Students crush school because they sell Cutco, not in spite of it. So I want to help you truly believe that by giving you some reasons why you should sell Cutco and just giving you some ideas about the importance of consistency, that I can give you some tools to really crush the school year and crush selling Cutco. Now, I was by no means the perfect sales rep or the perfect student. As you heard, yeah, we got a lot of 4.0s, but I actually crushed selling in school, and I was still involved in a lot of stuff. And I'm not saying that to impress you, but to impress upon you the fact that intentionally being involved in multiple things actually forces excellence in those areas. So if you think about it, you probably all know someone at school who takes the maximum amount of credits, has a job, is in a sport. They might be in a sorority or fraternity. They might be in clubs or volunteer groups. And somehow that person is good at everything they do. And you all probably know someone who doesn't have a job and doesn't do sports or isn't involved on campus, and they barely pass their classes, even though that's all they have to do. And I actually don't think this is a coincidence. We could probably discuss for hours why this would happen, but there's a few things that I think contribute to this. So one thing I think is really interesting is that the Harvard Business Review points to studies that show that there's really only three main components that are needed to generate motivation in people, and they are autonomy, relatedness, and competence. So autonomy is people's need to perceive that they have choices, that what they're doing is of their own volition, and that they are the source of their own actions. Relatedness is people's need to care about and be cared about by others, to feel connected to others without concerns about ulterior motives, and to feel that they're contributing to something greater than themselves. And competence is people's need to feel effective at meeting everyday challenges and opportunities, demonstrating skill over time, and feeling a sense of growth and flourishing. So I believe that highly involved individuals achieve excellence because they generate these three psychological needs. You may not have all three just from doing school. And so how do you achieve those physiological needs? You do that through the identity of a sports team, or through a sorority, or generating income by working. And by doing those, you can meet those needs at a higher level, and thus motivation is generated at a higher level. So I really believe there's a clear purpose in aligning yourself inside and outside of school with extra stuff. But I actually don't think there's a better place to experience those things than in Cutco. First of all, you're 100% in charge of your job. You decide when you work, you set your goals, you go after your own goals. There's your autonomy. You have the opportunity to meet with extremely talented people in the business, like now, including many of whom are students just like you. And you can talk with customers and actually connect with customers whose quality of life is improved by your product. There's relatedness. And through conferences and meetings and podcasts and videos, you can actually work on increasing your skill level, and you can ultimately see the results of your learning in sales and in income. So there's competence. So this is why students crush school, because they do Cutco, not in spite of it. We could probably take this one step further and say that students crush all areas of their life because they do Cutco. And I think besides fulfilling those three psychological needs that there's something for everyone to get out of selling Cutco. And in particular, I think that there's a skill or multiple skills that you can really work on improving. So I could probably give you a list of dozens, if not hundreds of skills that can be improved here. But just a few examples could be time management, goal setting, self-confidence. It could be more business minded, like networking, consumer psychology, negotiating skills. And it might seem unrelated, but Cutco, especially the people, have taught me more life skills than anywhere else. So you can actually think here how to learn to invest and save, how to develop strong leaders, how to scale a business. And I bring this up because I think that this is where you connect. Okay, so you can make a strong connection between why you're here with Cutco and actually executing on a plan by deciding what skill you want to work on and what skill you want to master. So if you can pick a skill to really work on, that can be a great way to drive yourself forward. So hopefully this will give you reason enough to stay active selling during the school year. I also want to say that I don't think there's a sales number or a demo number attached to that. Simply put, it's going to be different for each person. But now I just want to actually talk about a few strategies to sell around school. My goal is not to make this a time management talk so much, especially I think with many of you that are students. It's probably going to be more successful applied one-on-one. So what I would highly recommend is asking your manager for a time to meet with them so that you can work together on a schedule and on a plan. If you have not yet made a daily and weekly schedule for yourself on a piece of paper or on a Google Calendar, then you should do that ASAP. It is of the utmost importance that you discipline yourself to write down the schedule you really want, because if you don't write down the schedule you really want, you're not going to have the schedule you really want. Okay. And there's two things that I think really create a foundation for selling around school. The first and most basic strategy is consistency, specifically consistency in the activities required to do demos, which means phoning. And it sounds easy enough, right? If you've been here for a while, you've heard that so many times. So if you've heard that before, it's time to ask yourself, am I doing it? And if you aren't doing it, it's time to ask yourself, why? All right. So it all starts with consistency in phoning. You should phone consistently throughout the week, even if it's only 5, 10, 20 phone calls. So I still remember that I would phone every Tuesday and Thursday before boxing practice, every Wednesday and Saturday team events, and every Monday was my backup phoning day. So I was phoning on more days than I wasn't phoning, but many of those phoning sessions were not an hour long. They were just consistent phoning. And by consistently phoning, I was not only consistently having demos booked, I was having demos booked ahead of time. So I wasn't stressed about phoning last minute. And again, it sounds so simple, but many students miss out on this because they only phone once or twice a week, and they lose out on the benefits of making it a consistent habit. So the number of phone calls will be directly related to the number of demos that you want to book each week. 10 to 15 demos a week will probably require an hour of phoning multiple days a week. And 1 to 3 demos will probably be 5 phone calls a day, multiple days a week. Now, 5 phone calls a day, by the way, is the type of thing you can do during a break in your classes, like during the day. And I actually want to take a very important tangent here. I think that most students don't utilize their school day hours effectively. I would actually start to be critical of how you spend your downtime during the day and in between classes. Because what you might discover is that you can actually give yourself more free time in the evenings and weekends where it really matters if you can become more efficient during the day. So consistent phoning is the absolute foundation of consistently hitting your goals. It's also important to be consistently setting goals, evaluating goals, and adapting plans. This is also true of crushing school, not just Cutco. So what works great is spend a few minutes every day and 30 to 60 minutes every week overlooking your schedule and setting your goals inside and outside of school. And this will give you clarity in what you need to do every day. For those of you who are bankers and innovators, clarity in what is required to hit your goals, especially clarity in your schedule, is going to reduce your stress level massively. So this is really important. So next, let's talk about how many demos should you do, right? This depends on your schedule and it depends on your goals. So to make it really simple, we're going to look at 5, 10, and 15 demos a week. I would say that most of you probably fit into one of those categories. If you are someone who wants to do a few demos a week, that's great too. We want you to be here in whatever capacity works best for you. Genuinely, I can say that what your managers want for you is to get what you want to get out of the position and to make the money you need. And if less than 5 demos a week achieves that goal for you, then talk to your manager about what that looks like for a schedule and for phoning. So 5 demos a week, and this is where the handout is, of course, massively helpful because I've made a beautiful chart. 5 demos a week, I would say, is quite achievable for most people, even if you're busy. Even considering the phoning required to book 5 appointments, it's probably 10 hours of work. And many of your friends with hourly jobs work that much in just one day on the weekends. So if you're completely average, 5 demos is going to get you 500, maybe up to 1,000 in sales. And your income based on that, of course, depends on your commission level, but most of you are making $100 or more. The action that you need to make that happen, of course, is phone calls. So you're probably looking at 20 to 30 phone calls. Now, as I talked about, in phoning consistently, I would just plan on making 5 to 10 phone calls every day. And you'll actually not only have those demos booked consistently, you'll have them booked ahead of time. So let's look at 10 demos a week. 10 demos a week is still a great goal for many of you, especially if you need to make a bit more money for school, or if you want to start to save and invest money. 10 demos is that threshold where you start to have a lot of financial freedom. So if you're completely average, 10 demos a week will translate to at least 1,000 in sales, though it's probably more if you're actively selling and improving each week. And of course, that means phone calls. So it's usually 50 to 60 phone calls a week. And for most of you, 50 to 60 phone calls means 15 to 20 phone calls on the 2 weekly team meetings and 5 to 10 phone calls on most other days to keep the phoning consistent. And again, income depends on your commission level, but most of you are looking at $200 to $300 in income. And then finally, 15 demos a week. I am well aware that most of you who are students do not fit into this category, but I also know that there are probably scholarship winners in this group who will do this for part or all of the school year. There, in fact, are probably scholarship winners in this Zoom who don't yet know that they're going to be scholarship winners who are going to do this. So to do 15 demos, you probably have to make 80 to 100 phone calls. And I know that might seem like a lot, but what that is 15 to 20 phone calls every weekday. It is less than an hour of phoning every day. And I'm sure most of you spend that much time on TikTok or Netflix every day. At this level, by the way, at 15, you're selling at least 2,000, maybe more, and you're going to make $300 to $600 to $1,000 depending on your commission level, and that's some serious money. So that is like fully fund your Roth IRA. That's some graduate debt-free kind of money. So 15 demos a week is true financial freedom for most of you students. And what's wonderful is I've laid out 3 options and you're free to pick any of them. Even more wonderful is that I know that things rarely work out as perfectly as I've laid out here. But what I know is that there's a magic number of demos and a magic number of phone calls for each and every one of you. So we're actually going to take a minute to write down where in your schedule you're going to phone and where in your schedule you're going to plan. So in the fillable PDF, maybe that could be dropped in the chat once more in case you didn't pull it up. You'll see I've actually put slots where you can say what day you're phoning, what time you're phoning, how many phone calls you want to make. Okay. And we've also put a slot where you can pick what time of day you're going to work on your schedule and what day of the week you're going to spend more time, like 30 to 60 minutes working on your schedule. So by the way, if you have to wake up 5 minutes earlier to plan your day before class, those will probably be the most powerful 5 minutes of your day. Genuinely, those would be the most powerful 5 minutes of your day. So I would consider that if you wake up at 9 o'clock, but by waking up at 8:55, you can actually look at your schedule every morning. You might want to do that. And you want to pick a day, maybe Sunday or Monday, right when the week is starting, maybe Fridays, if you're someone who has a lot of homework on the weekends, where you can actually look at your schedule for the coming week, where you can set demo goals, pick demo slots. You can figure out what things you need to do to get school done, and any extra studying and homework and emails that need to be sent for that. Okay, so pick those times. By the way, once you've picked them, I highly recommend snap a picture of that document and send it to your manager so they can actually help hold you accountable. And if you're not sure what to fill into those time slots, put some ideas down and ask your manager for a time to work on this. Okay. And actually, to sum it up, one thing that I think is incredible is that there's actually a support system here, like almost nowhere else on earth. Meeting with the district and division managers over the summer has proven to me that your managers are some of the most excellent leaders in the nation. And the quality of coaching that you have access to in your managers is incredible, and it's free. So utilize your managers to create a schedule for yourself and to hold yourself accountable. And so long story short, I think there's something for every single one of you to get from the job, whether you want income, whether you want experience, whether you just need a great environment to be a part of, you can find that here. And not only that, but there's a schedule for success for everyone. And these are the things that are going to really move the needle. Phoning consistently, scheduling consistently. And if you can pick a skill to master, it'll drive you towards consistency in those two things. So go crush school, go crush Cutco. I am so excited for the rest of this conference, and thank you, everyone.